Right, so let me start with a few words and then we'll hand over to our lovely list of experts tonight. I'm going to share some slides and just explain the background to all this. Ever since I was a small boy, there's been three things that I've just loved. One of them is galaxies, another is computers, and the third thing is space. And now here's me and Yuri Gagarin in 1961. I'm the one on the right, by the way. So those three things, galaxies, computers and space, and until very recently, I thought they kind of joined together in a sort of harmony, and they're all crucial to my career. And in 2019, professional astronomers around the world got a bit of a shock, and our pictures started being photobombed by streaks like this. But it wasn't just professional astronomers, it was amateur stargazers as well. Here's a picture by one of our own society members here in Edinburgh. Again, the streaks invading the pictures. Now, we know why this is, of course, by now. Almost everybody knows, I think. It's because of this very exciting plan to plaster the surface of the globe in low Earth orbit with thousands of satellites, provide people with satellite dishes, and provide a kind of global internet. And in particular, we associate the name of Starlink with that idea. But it's not just Starlink. So for many years, oh, and by the way, I should say that we did invite Starlink representatives to come along to this event, but they couldn't make it. So that's a real shame. I wish somebody had been here. Satellite internet's not completely new. Some companies such as Viasat, who are represented here tonight, have been doing satellite internet for many, many years, but that's generally been done in spacecraft which are in very high orbits. So there's only a few of them. They're not too bright, and but there's a bit of a time delay in the signal that comes down from such satellites. Now, the new idea, and this graphic, by the way, is from the OneWeb company who are represented on our event tonight. And it illustrates that the new thing is having a fleet of satellites much closer to the Earth. And then you cut down the delays in the signals, and we'll try and understand later why that is, why some people think that's important. But then each satellite can only see a little bit of the Earth, so you need thousands of them. Okay, so the problem really is not just Starlink, even though some people have got very, astronomers and others have got cross with them. Everybody else is now jumping on the bandwagon. Lots of other companies, lots of countries, in China, Russia, Facebook and Amazon. And if you add up all the proposals that are in public knowledge for fleets of satellites providing space internet, you come to the conclusion that something like 100,000 satellites will be up there by 2029. So compared to 2018, that's a factor of 50 increase in the number of satellites in low Earth orbit. So this is a scarily fast change, which is why people are very concerned, and it's hard to know where it's going to stop. Now, many of our professional astronomy colleagues, for example, Connie Walker, who's on the event tonight, got together, worked very hard on technical working groups. We're talking with SpaceX engineers and with people at OneWeb as well, who were very accommodating and useful. And Connie was the lead author of this report, which went to the United Nations quite recently. And it's a fantastic piece of work. So if you're really interested, you should try and read it. I took a slightly different approach. I decided to go with raising public awareness. So I wrote this book, which some of you will have seen, as a non-technical explanation of the issues, and then set up this event here, again, to try and make it as public as possible. But it's much broader than just astronomical pictures. It's about space junk, debris in space, which people have been hearing more and more about, especially in recent weeks with the hit on the International Space Station. This is a problem that's been growing for many years. People have been concerned. Here's a picture Mark Cochrane sent me of a hole in one of the solar panels of the Hubble Space Telescope, made by a relatively small piece of debris. People are also seeing this as an environmental problem, a kind of pollution of the wilderness, as it were. And unlike light pollution, which is relatively localized, you can get away from it, satellite pollution is global. It doesn't matter where the satellites were launched from, they fly over your sky in an hour's time. It also, some people are seeing this more and more as a kind of cultural problem about humanity's right to the sky. And we have some people on the event tonight who'll tell us more about that. This is an Australian Aboriginal constellation marked on the sky, the Emu. It's also about liability and possible damage. This picture is showing a piece of an iridium satellite which fell into a Californian orchard, and also showing some Canadian scientists looking for the remains of a radioactive Russian satellite which crashed into northern Canada. And we really need to kind of sort out what the rules are, who's responsible for that, whether the liability convention that exists in international law works. The whole situation, I'm nearly finished, by the way, we'll hand over in a second. The whole situation reminds me of earlier in my life during the 1970s, when the law of the sea was a hot topic and building up. Those of you old enough will remember Cod Wars, disputes over seabed exploitation and so on. And it was really getting quite nasty. And there was a big shake-up in international regulations, which is not finished yet, by the way, I think. Still a live issue. But it's much better than it was. So I suspect we're going through a similar transformation in space. So our event tonight is divided into 5 sections. We're going to start by talking about astronomical science, why astronomers care. Then we're going to talk to some satellite operators and try and understand what it's all about and what they're doing. Then we're going to talk about environment and culture more broadly. Then we'll look specifically at space junk. And then finally, we'll look at space law and policy and what the world can and should do.